Lately, I've been ignoring some of the so-called golden rules of landscape photography, like the rule of thirds. Today, I'm out to share why that's been changing the way I shoot and the thought process behind capturing that final image. I've travelled out to Coldrum Long Barrow this morning, a favoured spot of mine ever since I got into landscape photography. Always loved coming back out here on the odd occasion, especially for the rolling hills of the Kent countryside. I realised when I was researching where to head with the camera this weekend that I've never actually gone off in that direction whenever I've come out to this part of the countryside. So no clues where I'm planning on walking today. Although first things first, it looks like we're going to have a beautiful sunrise to start the day. It's a sunrise that I think will call for the tripod this morning. But this is a composition where I've taken plenty of shots in the past, but it's one of those scenes where I've got to get it just right if I want to be happy with it. The tree over on the right, just to the right of the Long Barrow, I find it can be a little bit messy at times when I'm looking back at my images in post. Talking of things I'm not overly a fan of when doing landscape photography brings me on to today's video. You see, ever since I started going out with the camera, taking shots, I've found I've always got a pretty consistent style whenever I'm taking any images. You see, over the years, I found myself heavily relying on the rule of thirds as a compositional guideline. Nothing wrong with that, of course. My approach to taking a shot is quite simple. You see, with the rule of thirds, of course, you've got the two horizontal lines, and usually you put your horizon on whichever line shows the more interest. For example, if there's drama happening in the sky, like what we've got with the sunrise this morning, then I'll usually put the horizon on the bottom horizontal, get more detail in the sky, because that's where it's all happening. If, like with this shot here, this scene here, there's not too much happening in the sky, then the horizon will go on the top horizontal. I'll get more of the landscape in shot. In the grand scheme of things though, I guess it helps having that attitude, using the rule of thirds as my primary compositional guideline, for the simple fact that nearly every single camera, is there a camera that doesn't have it, whether using mirrorless camera, DSLR, your phone, you get the rule of thirds grid. You can get that grid up on your device. So when you're taking the shot, you've got that visual aid. Over the last few months though, I've noticed a little bit of an unintentional shift in the way I both take images and how I edit them. I find myself a lot now, rather than putting the horizon on the top horizontal or the bottom horizontal, I'll put it in the middle. Or when I'm editing back home in Lightroom, I'll load up the crop visual, the one that looks like a cross, where it's just got one horizontal going straight through the middle. And it's on that horizontal where I'll put my horizon. You know, I sometimes think that when I share these trips out, when I share the images that I take, that I come across sometimes as someone who just shoot whatever they see. And I get lucky in some respect if I manage to get a decent shot or not. Hopefully though, this kind of just shows, this video, what I'm talking about now, it just shows the mindset that I go through when I'm taking an image. I think for me though, what always confused me when I was learning the art of landscape photography, when I got into this amazing hobby back in 2021, surrounded the rules themselves. You'd read online when you're learning how to do certain things that there are these rules that you should follow, but equally they were there to be broken. So it's like, okay, should I follow the rules? Should I break them? What is it that I should be doing? Never really knew. And I think this year, seeing that I've kind of made that unintentional step away from sticking to the rule of thirds, is that, of course, when you're starting out and you're doing photography for the first time, it's worth sticking to the rules, learning photography, making sure you understand photography. And then when you've got to that stage, start breaking the rules and start putting your own stamp, your own style on your images. And that's what I've found myself doing a lot this year. You know, I think on that note, this is as good a time as any to bring this video to a close. It's a reminder though, as I've said, that you're not restricted to any photography rules. If you want to do your own thing, go off and do it. The only person you've got to please when you're sharing your photos, when you're taking your photos, is yourself. That is the big one to remember. But I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you found it useful. But like I say, this is where I'm going to end today's video. So it leaves me to say but one thing from me to you. Goodbye.